All right, so Bobby Lee wasn't able to do Bad Friends this week because I think he's on vacation or something. So they had to bring in somebody to fill his spot, and they actually decided to bring in Khalyla. So of course this episode got a lot of dislikes, and basically all the comments were negative, which I think they had to expect because they didn't even put her in the thumbnail. I think they knew if they had her in the thumbnail, people probably wouldn't click on it. So they just put a silhouette of Bobby, it looks like, and then they titled it Bobby's Replacement. And it seems like they're almost trolling their fans here because they have to know that people don't like Khalyla. Maybe Andrew's not aware, like maybe he doesn't pay that much attention, but Khalyla knows, like obviously, and their producers, I'm pretty sure, are tuned in with all the subreddit stuff and the videos that people make about her. So they knew if they had her on the podcast, they would upset a lot of people, which, like, it's not that serious because it's just one podcast. Who cares? Just don't watch it. But it seems like they're almost playing with their audience, like getting them to click on the video, and then they just see Khalyla sitting there. That must have pissed a lot of people off, which I guess is kind of funny because Khalyla is definitely the last person people wanted to see filling in for Bobby's spot, and they could have had anybody else on and they would have been fine with it, or even just Andrew sitting there by himself. So let's check out some of the comments here because it sounded like this just ruined a lot of people's day. Like this person said, Khalyla instead of Bobby, I've been blue-balled from my weekly dose of bad friends. Somebody said, the crossover we never wanted. Another person said, I was so excited until they revealed who was replacing Bobby this episode, because I think people knew Bobby wasn't going to be on this one, but they're hoping it was basically anybody else. Somebody else said, really bummed that Khalyla is on instead of literally anybody else. Exactly. And here's just one more. This person said, I had the exact opposite feeling when Bert wasn't on Two Bears this morning. That's pretty funny. I guess he wasn't on that podcast and they're happy with that. So maybe Khalyla and Bert could start a podcast, or Khalyla and Brendan, because I think Khalyla and Brendan are definitely two of the most hated people on the internet. Like I remember when Brendan was on the Tiger Belly podcast and Khalyla was like, Brendan, I think I get as much hate as you. And at the time, maybe she wasn't, but at this point, I think she is for sure. Like she gets a lot of hate. It's crazy. And I'm sure Brendan and BGL and his team are probably happy about that. So it's pretty wild because usually if Brendan hates somebody, people will automatically take their side just because it's Brendan trashing them, so they'll defend them. But with this case, I mean, Brendan brought Khalyla right down with him. So I wonder what the thought process was having Khalyla on this episode. Maybe they just couldn't find anybody, so they're like, hey, Bobby, just ask Khalyla. And I doubt she even wanted to do it because I'm sure she knew she was going to get a ton of hate, even though I don't even know if she really cares about that. But this episode did just seem really boring. I don't think they really talked about that much, and she seemed not really that interested in being there. Like even people on the Tiger Belly subreddit, where it's usually kind of pro Khalyla because it has to be, but some people even said like, hey, this is just a boring episode. That's basically it. That's why people hated it, which isn't the only reason people hated it, obviously. Just the fact Khalyla being there, people are going to hate it no matter what, even if it was like the most entertaining episode ever. But it was just insanely boring too. It's like they weren't even trying. I mean, they could have asked her about like maybe Brendan Schaub or something to make it interesting, or like how her and Bobby are doing. I don't know. Like either way, people would be mad, but at least it'd be more exciting and people would have something to talk about. And it looks like the negative comments shock some people on the Tiger Belly subreddit because usually they censor posts about Khalyla. Like if you have anything negative to say, they'll just take it down. And if you pay attention to Tiger Belly, you probably notice she is getting some hate, but the comment section for this Bad Friends episode was just on another level. Like almost every single comment was negative. The only good ones would be somebody saying that Andrew carried the whole episode or something like that. So I also found this comment under the post on the Tiger Belly subreddit where people are asking about all the hate Khalyla's been getting. This person said, it's expected. I don't have any ill feelings towards her like a lot of people do, but having her in Bobby's spot, knowing how polarizing she is, wasn't a smart move, although the producers clearly couldn't care less. And then somebody commented on that and they said it was clearly intentional and intended to show the support for Kay. They're obviously aware of the deranged witch hunt Kay is dealing with. They're not stupid. It was a clear message to the haters that Kay is part of the family and isn't going anywhere, and it's a good thing in my opinion. They obviously couldn't care less about the dislikes or comments. And I think this post might be right about them making this move to try to show support for Khalyla. I think that's definitely a possibility. It'll be interesting to see if they mention any of the hate on their episode next week, because maybe they did this just so they could get this response and try to point out that people are just getting out of control with it or something. But also that would show that the comments and the dislikes did get to them kind of. And I don't know if Bobby and Andrew want to get into all that. It seems like they just want to stick to like doing their podcast, not getting involved in any drama or anything like that. And also the post I just read where they said they're doing this to support Khalyla. It sounded like this post might have been posting this to support Khalyla, kind of, because they called it a deranged witch hunt. And I just think it's funny because Khalyla does deserve criticism here, and Bobby too. I mean, I'm not afraid to criticize either one of them, but people always try to turn it into like something else, like, oh, it's a bunch of incels, they just hate women, which I'm sure there are some in the comments. I'm sure there are people that just hate women commenting and stuff, but that's not it. Like, people really just dislike her. I'm sorry. And this is the internet, so you're going to hear it. And I also think the fact that they try to ban anybody or take down any post that talks negatively about Khalyla on the Tiger Belly subreddit, I don't think that really helps at all, because it obviously shows that they do care about the comments, and it also seems like there's something to hide. Like, you don't want people talking about her because there are some valid things to criticize her for, and then also you just don't have people like discussing this at all and like maybe defending her and trying to get different viewpoints across. And then also with Brendan Schaub and the Fighter and the Kid subreddit, Khalyla and Annie on the Trash Tuesday podcast, they're talking about how like it's not that serious. Brendan gets some hate on the internet, who cares, like everyone deals with it. But then when Khalyla gets hate on her subreddit, they take it down. So I feel like they just don't know what to do with her. Like the whole Tiger Belly, Bad Friends, Trash Tuesday podcast, like all them and their producers and everything, they obviously don't like the hate. They want to try to censor it. But then also, if they want Khalyla to stop getting hate, she probably shouldn't have done this podcast. Like, this only gets people riled up. It's like they want people to hate on her. Like, if they want the hate to stop, then the best idea would just be to try to lay low for a little bit. Like, just do the Trash Tuesday podcast, kind of cut ties with Bobby, you know, stop doing Tiger Belly, and then just like wait it out and then maybe try to go back to things or something. But the way they're going about it, it's like they're trying to say that they don't care about the hate, but then also at the same time, it's very clear they care about it. Alright, so I'm going to wrap up this video, and make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed, because the next video I think should be a good one as well. While I was working on this video, I actually found this AMA that Bobby and Andrew did back like a year or two ago for Bad Friends, and there's some interesting things on there that have to do with Brendan Schaub that I'm going to talk about. So if you're following that, make sure you subscribe, and then leave me a comment. Let me know how much you hate Khalyla. No, I'm kidding. How about we actually try to say one thing positive about Khalyla? You know, she's getting enough hate. Maybe we could take it easy on her. Just be like, you know what, Khalyla, I don't know. I can't even think of anything. Fuck it. Just tell me how much you hate her. And then hit the like button. Then I'll catch you at the next video.